Hi, and welcome to presentation 3 of the public engagement for the Gourock Ferry Terminal Infrastructure OBC. This presentation will provide more information on the identification of problems, issues, opportunities and constraints at Gourock. The purpose of this stage of the business case is to identify any problems, issues, opportunities and constraints within the current and future transport system. As part of the business case, we aim to address these problems and realise the opportunities associated with the project. Alongside this, we also acknowledge the issues and take into account the constraints. This slide provides definitions of these terms. At Gourock, the direct problems focus on the condition of the existing infrastructure and the resulting operational constraints. The indirect problems are related to the implications of the direct problems and the impact these have on the communities served by the ferries. The issues we have identified are uncertainties that the study may not be in a position to resolve, but must work within the context of. The opportunities relate to potential improvements to the terminal. And finally, the constraints relate to the boundaries of the study, and the Transport Scotland methodology ensures that the options developed as part of the OBC are in keeping with these. So the next few slides will take a closer look at the existing problems at Gourock Ferry Terminal relating to the infrastructure. In terms of the existing infrastructure at Gourock, the problems include that the quay walls are reaching the end of their serviceable life and they're now past economic repair. The link span has been recently refurbished, but these works were designed to provide a limited future life, pending this work to redevelop the terminal. There are several disused assets around the terminal which should be removed. In terms of access to vessels, the problems include that passenger access is not suitable for use by all, as there are narrow gangways and steps currently in use. The boat steps need ongoing maintenance to make sure that marine growth doesn't build up, and crew access to the passenger vessels is less than desirable via the curved top wires berth. In terms of the berth facilities, the problems include that the current link span berth is not ideal for the Arran vessels and the new generation of Seamal vessels would not fit the berth. The wave conditions during easterly storms can impact the reliability of the passenger services. The existing fendering and mooring arrangements do not suit all the vessels which currently use Gourock. The orientation of the link span berth makes it challenging to use in easterly conditions. The curved shape of the top wires berths also makes it difficult to use. The step in the face of the quay wall can cause problems for smaller vessels at some tides, and there are no shore power facilities at any of the berths. The last of the direct problems are related to the landside facilities at Gourock. So the passenger distance to the trainer bus connections is longer than desirable. The pedestrian route for those entering from the south could be better defined. There is a lack of parking for passengers and terminal staff at peak times. The marshalling area is undersized for the current vessels and would be significantly undersized for the new generation of Seamal vessels. And the visibility of the national cycle route through the terminal could be improved. The resulting implications of these problems are, in terms of reliability, the main problem is that easterly conditions can impact the passenger service. And in terms of resilience, if the terminal is used as an alternative mainland port, this can have an impact on the scheduled passenger services. In addition, the existing infrastructure and its condition limits the size and number of vessels which can operate from Gourock. This next slide will provide more information on the issues at Gourock Ferry Terminal. So the main uncertainty is the link to the wider project, which includes the vessel design and the infrastructure at Dunoon and Cochrane. It is important to recognise the link to the other sides of the route, and the requirement to ensure compatibility of the vessel and passenger access facilities at Dunoon and Kilcreggan with the new vessels and the new infrastructure at Gourock. There is also programme uncertainty in relation to the delivery of new vessels and the timing of construction works across the Gourock, Dunoon and Kilcreggan network. The next slide will provide more information on the opportunities at Gourock Ferry Terminal. So as part of this project, we have the opportunity to improve reliability of the passenger service by improving the orientation of the berth and the facilities for the vessel. We have the opportunity to provide improved passenger access to vessels, to shorten the distance between the passenger service and onward travel links, to separate the passenger service and the AMP facilities to avoid conflicts at the terminal, to accommodate a wider range of vessels, and to provide electrical charging to reduce carbon emissions associated with the ferry service. The final slide will provide more information on the constraints of the study. This slide includes some of the constraints we are required to consider when we are developing our options for the infrastructure. So the terminals to remain on the same site. The redevelopment should preferably be within CMAL's existing harbour area. The site is bounded by the railway line and the train station. The junction between Tarbert Street and Cardwell Road is tight and there are properties close by, so we cannot make major alterations to the road layout. If the existing terminal building is retained, it could constrain the layout of options, and so we've developed options with the building in its current position and also options where we have moved it. The passenger service should preferably be towards the north of the site to minimise the travel distance to the train station. And lastly, there's a preference for the passenger service and the AMP facilities to be maintained throughout construction of any new facilities. Thanks for listening to this presentation, and I hope it's provided useful additional information on our baselining for Gourock.